My name is Keevin Erickson. I work for Huntfish Manitoba. I'm going to show you how I choose which WMAs I'm going to hunt and how I break down the landscape using satellite imagery, looking for different topography features to find likely animal corridors so that I have a good idea of where the wildlife are going to be before I even set foot on the land. So here I have the desktop version of iHunter Manitoba opened up here. The mobile version will look very similar. So let's say you're looking to hunt white-tailed deer and you've gone through a bunch of different WMAs and you've decided that you want to look further into the Langrooth WMA. So first of all, you click on some more information about Langrooth and you can see here it gives you a bunch of information about the area, some of the history, and a bunch about the flora and fauna, including the species, and lo and behold, here is the white-tailed deer. So you know what you're looking to target can be found in this area. So after you've read up on the WMA and have decided this is a place you want to hunt, you can then click on the GHA and it'll list to you the various white-tailed deer seasons available in this area. Currently we're scouting off season and the seasons have closed recently, so these will be updated for next year with the season dates, but here you'll be able to see when the archery deer season opens, when the muzzleloader season's open, and when the general rifle season opens. So you can have an idea of what time of year you can get in there. And the nice part about this area, it's pretty well from end of August right through to December. There's white-tailed deer hunting seasons available in the zone, so you've got a lot of time to explore this area. So the next step, now that you've established you want to hunt here and you know when the seasons are, is to start to get a little bit better idea of the topography of the landscape. So the first step when breaking this down is just to find some of your main access points onto this parcel of land. From what I can see here, there's a nice road access point here, with what appears to be a trail into the property. So now that I found the access point, I'm going to look for some different points of interest in this area that I think is likely to hold some wildlife, in particular white-tailed deer. So when scouting for whitetails, they essentially need three things to survive, and that's food, water, and shelter. So when breaking down the landscape, it's important to identify those three aspects to get a better idea of where their potential travel corridors are going to be. So looking at this WMA, we can see there's several different low-lying areas within the property that are likely sources of water for the deer. Another thing I'm looking for is neighboring fields that the deer may be feeding in the morning and evening. So for example, once I get boots on the ground scouting this piece, I'm going to want to come to the edge of this WMA here and just take a peek over into this field and see if it's a crop that the deer are likely feeding on, and also look for different travel corridors along this edge to potentially intercept them when they're heading in to feed in the evening or leaving the feed in the morning, just to better your chance at encountering the deer. Another thing I'm going to look for is areas of potential shelter that deer will use to bed throughout the day. When looking for potential bedding areas, a good place to start is looking for thicker areas of bush within the landscape. Here you can see a nice clump of potentially aspens that deer would likely utilize to get protection from the elements and predators throughout the day. So another potential bedding area that I've kind of spotted here on this landscape is this kind of island of trees within these swamps here. Depending on how wet the year is, I could definitely see a whitetail cutting across and into here and utilizing the swamp as protection from predators by putting the water or the wetlands to their back and using their nose to identify any predators coming from upwind. So that's just a couple different areas on here that I'm looking at to identify that food, water, and potential bedding areas. Going through this entire property and dropping a few waypoints within the app, identifying areas you want to check when you do put boots on the ground, is going to make your scouting a lot more effective when you are there and you're not walking around aimlessly. You can look at your phone, click on the waypoints and walk towards them and check everything out. Sometimes things are not going to appear exactly how they seem on here, but that's why it's great to give yourself lots of options, lots of waypoints to check out, and you're eventually going to find something that's going to be super effective when it comes to hunting season. So now that I've identified various areas of food, water, and shelter within this landscape, I'm gonna drop a bunch of different waypoints of my areas of interest so that when I do scout boots on the ground, I'm gonna be able to do that way more effectively, having a list of different points of interest. So I'm not wasting my time walking around aimlessly looking for interesting stuff. I've got a good idea of what's already going on in the landscape. Sometimes things are going to seem a little bit different in person than they do on satellite imagery, but that's why it's good to give yourself lots of options, because eventually you're going to find something that is really going to put you in a good advantage for fall. So I've identified this spot here as a potential bedding area. Maybe I'm curious to know how long of a hike it could be to hike into there. So I can go to the access point, and using the drawing feature on the app, I can click on, go to the access and draw this line all the way over to that waypoint. Now I can see it's about 1.2 kilometers to get there.